In a previous video, I asked you to ask me anything and everything, and you may not have asked me everything, but you did ask me plenty of questions, and my intention for this video is to answer those questions. So without further ado, let's get started. The first question comes from Jan Kosters, and Jan asks if I am going to see more of the Netherlands, and I sincerely hope so. I have seen quite a bit of the Netherlands already in my time here. I've been everywhere from Dokkum and Harlingen and Sloten and Snake in Friesland to Maastricht and Valkenburg and Thorn and Sittard in Limburg. I've traveled from Texel to Zeeland and to many places in between, but there really is so much more to explore in this wonderful country. Such a varied landscape and such an incredible collection of interesting cities and towns. So yes, Jan, I do plan to see more of the Netherlands. The next question comes from Boxer309, and Boxer309 is asking if I have ever been on a cruise. By the way, he plans on sailing to the Netherlands via the Queen Mary 2, Chichi. And he'll be doing that soon, coming back to a country that is near and dear to him. And to answer your question, Boxer, no, I have never been on a cruise, although it is something that we have talked about many times in the past. I am quite curious about some of the river cruises, which you can take here in Amsterdam, but I would really be open, of course, to a Mediterranean cruise because that's a region in the world that I especially like. And so, yeah, I'm up for it. So that's something on my bucket list, I guess you could say. The next question comes from the Highlander, and the Highlander is asking, how many hats do you have? And I've never actually counted them, but for this occasion I had a quick look, and my best estimate is in the neighborhood of about 15, I think. And now for a question from Wild Evolution, who has an amazing YouTube channel of her own, I might add. And Wild Evolution is asking, what are some of your other life goals aside from YouTube? Well, that had me immediately recall something that I wrote in my high school yearbook. Each of us had to express our goals for life, and there were many of my classmates who said things like, taking over their father's business or these type of ambitions. And I still remember what I wrote so long ago, and it still holds true. And that is to be happy with myself and with what I do. So I really think that that's my primary goal, my life goal above all else. But more practically speaking, I really would like to orchestrate a retirement that would have my husband and I spending the colder months in a warmer climate, such as Italy or his home country of Mexico. And in the interim, our company offers a global mobility program, which allows us to work for as much as 3 months out of the year in another country, anywhere really. So I want to avail myself of that, especially during these sort of gray days of winter. So those would be just a couple of my life goals. The next question comes from Martijn, and Martijn is asking, where did I meet my husband? And that's a great question, and I'll keep it simple for this particular video because I do want to make a dedicated video about our meeting because I think it is special. Suffice it to say that the two of us met in Amsterdam, and it's ironic, I think, because he is originally from Mexico, and of course I'm originally from the United States, and so in some respects we were neighbors, so to speak, and yet we met in a faraway country. I like to think that there was a bit of destiny to our meeting, but again, I'm going to tell you more about that in a future video, so do stay tuned. The next question comes from Gerrit Stoke, my twin brother separated at birth, and Gerrit is asking if I would care to share some of my art collection. So I thought I would show you just a few examples of what I have collected since I've been here in the Netherlands, and I really did refine my collection to Dutch painters or Dutch artists, and especially those with a Haarlem connection. So here are just a few for your enjoyment. The next question comes from Rick Lane, aka Mark, also known as Marcus. And Mark and I share an interest in country music, and for him especially Johnny Cash, and for me especially George Jones, and I guess for both of us the late great Hank Williams, among others, because he also enjoys a lot of classical music, as do I. But Rick Lane, or Mark, asked me if I have ever visited the Dom Toren in Utrecht, which is apparently 113 meters high. That I did not know. I did look it up, and I did discover that it was built between 1321 and 1382. And to answer your question, Mark, yes, I have visited that tower, and in fact, I'm proud to say that I climbed all 465 steps to the top, and wow, what a view. These next questions, because there are quite a few, come from sweet Christina in the States, and Christina asked me right off the top, will I please share some more singing videos? So all I have to say to you, Christina, is be careful what you wish, you might get it, and I'm going to share with you now a little snippet of a song I wrote, if you can imagine, when I was 14, and it's something that I still do occasionally, just, well, regularly, I would say. I often wake up with tunes in my head, or lyrics, or even whole songs, and this is just kind of a little lighthearted ditty that I wrote when I was 14, so take it away, Ukulele Mike. I was riding down the street in my big black Cadillac, checking out the people on the sidewalk jack. Not a care in the world, no place to go, rocking to the rhythm on the radio. I got the windows open and the seat kicked back, riding down the street in my big black Cadillac. Well, there you have it. Now, the next question from Christina is, do you play any other musical instruments? And yes, I do, Christina. I first took organ lessons as a kid for about 6 years, I suppose, and then from there I migrated to the piano because I just always preferred the sound of the piano, and that's something that I wanted to play. And of course, if you know how to play the organ, you more or less can translate those skills to any other keyboard, although it is a little bit different, and it did take me some getting used to the pedals. You know, there are a lot more pedals on the organ, of course, and there's a lot more to keep track of. You often have multiple keyboards, but the piano pedals, although there are usually only 2 or 3, operate differently. So that took me some getting used to. But yes, I do play keyboard, organ, piano, in addition to now the ukulele. Christina wants to know if I have any pets. And well, I don't at the moment, because sadly I lost my beloved cat Stripe last year, May, and Stripe was with me for 16 years, and he was so much a part of my life here. Most of my time in the Netherlands, he was here with me, so that was a big loss, and I think about him, you know, almost every day. I really did love my little buddy. He was my beautiful angel. Christina would also like to know whether I am working now or am I retired. And the answer is yes, I am working. I have a full-time job at a publishing company, a Dutch publishing company, and that's my day job. Now, I am fortunate to work from home exclusively, I would say. I go into the office maybe 2 or 3 times per year, so I'm really very fortunate that way, and that gives me a lot of flexibility and does give me the time to pursue other passions, such as starting a YouTube channel or learning another George Jones song on the ukulele. Christina would also like to know if I have any other fun celebrity stories to share. I do. The one that came to mind when I read your question was when I met Dionne Warwick, or when I approached Dionne Warwick, I should say, for an autograph. She happened to be here in Amsterdam. I didn't know that. I just also happened to be in the city, and I saw a sign in the window of a bookstore that mentioned that Dionne Warwick would be there signing books, and it was around that time, so I thought, why not? So I went in expectantly and waited, and I remember, when she first arrived, then standing in the line to ask her for an autograph, and this is embarrassing, I only had a napkin for her to sign. So when I got up to Dionne Warwick, I presented her with the napkin and asked for her autograph. And she called attention to everyone in the room, and she said, "Can we please remind everyone why we're here?" Which of course was for the book signing. And I suppose the expectation was that I would have purchased her book and had her sign that. So it was an awkward moment, to say the least. But she did say, "Well, I can say hello," which she did, and that's my Dionne Warwick story. So anyway, I have some other celebrity stories which I can no doubt share in subsequent videos when they're relevant. Another question is, do I have any indoor plants or a garden? And I would say both. I do have a few indoor plants. I have a bird of paradise, a big bird of paradise here, and also a jade plant, which I have had for many years, and a snake plant, which is really probably one of the easiest plants in the world to grow. So I have those 3 inside, and I do, behind me, have a balcony where I have potted plants, mostly hydrangeas, because hydrangeas do especially well here in the Netherlands because of the quantities of rain that it receives. It's all in the name. Hydra is water, and hydrangeas really do love water, and so they're happy campers. And in the Benedenwoning, I have a little, what they would call a garden. It's really a small patio area, and there I have a very large climbing hydrangea, which I've had for 20 years now, and some other potted plants. So yes to both of those questions. The next question is, did you celebrate National Tulip Day? And oh my God, how did I not know about that? All these years I've lived here, and I'm familiar with the Bloemencorso. Every year I attend that, which is the flower parade that comes into Haarlem. And but yeah, I didn't even know there was a National Tulip Day. I looked it up online, and apparently it is celebrated every third Saturday every third Saturday of January each year in Amsterdam, and it's intended to kick off tulip season. So no, I didn't, but yes, I will going forward. So thanks for that tip. Do you enjoy cooking and what I consider a cooking channel or a cooking video? Well, I do cook. Enjoy is a big word. I have a few meals up my sleeve that I make, but really I have to give full credit to my husband, who absolutely is passionate about cooking, and I'm the lucky beneficiary of that. He makes national dishes from Mexico, and he even makes the corn tortillas from scratch using a tortilla press. I didn't even know there was such a thing until I met him. And so, but for me, no, you're not likely to see a cooking video from me, although I will say every morning I make from scratch, and this may seem simple, and it is, but I've perfected it over the years. I do make from scratch a bowl of hearty, wholesome oatmeal, and I've been doing that for, oh, good Lord, a long, 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 long time. And that's just oatmeal, of course. I use a little bit of almond milk for that, and I put in a bit of cinnamon and fresh blueberries. And the blueberries, as that cooks, they pop, and it lends a kind of lavender color to the bowl of oatmeal, which is really nice. And when that's finished, I also put in a little bit of maple syrup just for some sweetness. And when that's finished, I put it in a bowl and then put some cocoa nibs on the top and some fresh seeds, pumpkin seed and others, and some walnuts. So that's how I start almost every single day, even when I'm traveling. When I'm in the United States to see my mom, for example, I pick up all of those ingredients from the Whole Foods and I prepare that for both me and my mother. And on a recent trip to Philadelphia, where I was doing some business there, and I was there for 3 months, virtually every morning that I was there, I made the same oatmeal dish. So I do a limited amount of cooking, and I do make a mean spaghettini, by the way, from scratch that my husband loves, but no, the credit really goes to him for the cooking. Would I consider a grocery store shopping haul video? And yeah, I would. I think that's an interesting idea. I think it would be interesting for me to take the camera out a little bit more, certainly when the weather improves. Not only outside, out and about and exploring Haarlem and other cities, but indeed, yeah, maybe to have a sneak peek into some of the grocery stores and other shops here in the Netherlands to give others an idea of what that looks like. So yeah, thanks for that idea. I like it. What do I enjoy doing in my free time is the question. Well, I would say these days in my free time, I'm either coming up with an idea for a YouTube video or scripting it perhaps, or doing a little bit of research, and then I'm shooting the video and then editing it, writing descriptions, coming up with the thumbnail and the title. So that occupies a lot of my free time these days. And if I'm not doing that, I'm tinkering around with the ukulele, or coming up with a song. Like I say, sometimes I like to just dream up some songs or parts of songs, and so that's something that I like to do. I also really love to ride my bike for errands, but also for pleasure, especially in the nicer weather. I really like to get on my bike and ride out through the dunes to the North Sea. So that's something that I like to do. And I like to take walks in nature. I also like to walk around the city. I like to read, and I like to write. So these are some of my pursuits in my free time these days. The next question is, would you share some fun stories from your Oxford days? And well, the one that comes to mind is there's something that I really liked to do there that I had never done before in my life, and that's punting. And that's when you go out onto the river, and in my case, I would go to the Cherwell River in Oxford, and they had flat boats with long poles, and you kind of propel the boat with those poles. It takes some getting used to, but I was a quick study, so I picked it up rather quickly, and I had a lot of fun with that. But one time, when I was there in the boat with my friends on the river, and I guess I just had to show off, and so I was demonstrating my extraordinary skills of balance, and I was walking along like a tightrope, the very thin edge of the flatboat, and I think you know the rest. I ended up in the river, and I think that was more fun for my classmates than it was for me, but that's one little story that I can share from my Oxford days. Which online news of the Netherlands in English do I recommend? Well, the truth is, I don't really read the news. I used to. Let me first start by saying, if you're looking for English language news about the Netherlands, I would recommend dutchnews.nl, dutchnews.nl. So that's certainly a good source. But indeed, I really have decided to unplug and disengage from the news. Particularly after a recent election, I really just don't want to engage any more than necessary, and these are matters over which I have no influence and no control, and so I want to be careful about what I'm ingesting, not only in terms of the food that I eat, but just the media that I consume. So that's a way that I can flex some control over the situation. And so, I did even have an app for CNN prior to the election, and I would look at that, and I would look at BBC and other news sources, and I decided I've had enough. I don't want to hear any more about it. So, does that mean that I'm living in my happy bubble? Maybe it does, but again, these are things over which I have no control or influence anyway, and the last time I checked, the news is never good. One time I did an informal sort of study of the words used in the headlines of the news, CNN for example, and it struck me that virtually every word was catastrophic or disaster or emergency or hi, hi, hi. Well, life is short, so I choose to make an effort, if possible, to focus on more positive things, like like a Hank Williams song, or another crying in your beer song, as if those things are positive. But they don't seem to have the same impact on me as reading news about American politics, for example. So, but to answer your question, I would recommend dutchnews.nl. The next question is, what are my top chocolate recommendations that I can easily purchase here in the Netherlands? And, well, I would say that if it's in Haarlem, it would be the little chocolate shop called Pierre here, and they are handmade chocolates and very good quality, and so I really like them. My favorite Dutch chocolates, also easily available to me, are in Amsterdam, at a shop called Puccini, and I have mentioned them in previous videos because the chocolates there are a little bit unusual in the sense that they have some exotic flavors such as pepper and ginger and raspberry and so many different kinds, and even some with a little smidgen of alcohol, but that taste is not very strong. And every single chocolate of theirs that I've tried has been really first rate. The first best chocolates that I ever had in my life were Belgian chocolates. And in fact, it was when I was in Oxford, and a classmate of mine who was from Belgium, she went home for a visit and very nicely brought me back some chocolates. And up until that point, well, I had never eaten such chocolate. So fine, so delicious, so rich. Oh my God. To me, it was as if I had never eaten chocolate before. So, but yeah, Pierre and Puccini are the chocolates of choice for me here in the Netherlands. And so I tend not even to buy commercial brands because I don't really have to. I'm lucky that way. Related to that is, am I able to buy Finnish or Swedish chocolates or breads or food items? And the mention, of course, was made that there is an IKEA here. So indeed, I suppose I could go to the IKEA for some versions of those things. I really am not that familiar with Finnish or Swedish chocolate. I assume it's something that could be purchased here in the Netherlands. I just don't know. I really can't tell you. And the IKEA, I don't really tend to go there much usually because it's so crowded. So I kind of do avoid it actually. But yeah, the chocolates again for me tend to be Dutch chocolates, or if I go south of the border, then I'm buying Belgian chocolates. The next question is there anything that I miss in the US that I cannot get here in the Netherlands? And yes, the first thing that comes to mind repeatedly is the Whole Foods grocery store that's in the US, and I miss it so much. There is nothing here that compares to that in terms of quality and quantity. I do shop at the Echo Plaza here in the Netherlands, which is an organic grocery store, which I really do value. But when you compare that to something like Whole Foods, Echo Plaza is really more of a convenience store in terms of the scale by comparison, and in terms of the, again, the quantities and the quality of the organic produce and foods that are available at Whole Foods. So that is one thing I definitely miss for sure in the US that I really can't get here. And aside from that, of course, I miss my mother and I miss my sister, and I can't get them here either. But I do speak to my mother every day on the phone, and I speak to my sister regularly via FaceTime, so we're able to keep in touch in that way. But yeah, those are a few things that I miss about the US that I can't get here in the Netherlands. The next question is, do you enjoy playing sports? And at the risk of being a bit of a cliche, a gay cliche, I would say that no, I don't really play sports. I do enjoy cycling, but I don't do it in a competitive way. I kind of prefer to mosey along and enjoy the sights and the sounds while I'm cycling. So no, sports I'm really not that into. I also am not a spectator of sports. But that's my answer to your question. This next question comes from Fabulous Babs in Limburg. And Babs is asking me if there is anything that I would still like to learn, something that I've always wanted to learn but just never had an opportunity to for various reasons. And, well, the first thing that came to my mind is I would like to learn Spanish, because I think that would come in handy for obvious reasons for me, considering my husband is from Mexico, and to be able to communicate more effectively with his family. It's something I should have done a long time ago, but yeah, I would like to learn Spanish. And otherwise, I have to say that when things do occur to me, I'm a very creative spirit, and I like anything having to do with a creative pursuit. And usually if something occurs to me, like, you know, making a YouTube channel or picking up a ukulele on a whim and figuring out how to play that, I do it. So most things that I have been interested in pursuing, I've done or tried. There is, I will say, I did try once to throw some clay on a wheel in terms of making some pottery vessels. I started to take a class when I was in Philadelphia, and, well, I was young and impatient, and so I got frustrated very easily. I had a friend who made it look so easy. She was able to plop down a chunk of clay on a wheel and just work that, and, you know, almost like the scene in Ghost, you know, form this beautiful vessel with ease. And so I thought, hey, I can do that. And it didn't really pan out in that way, and I lost patience. But it's something I would like to try my hand at again, because I really do like anything, as I say, creative. So that'd be something I'd like to try sometime too. Mark van Koeverden, and I hope I got that pronunciation in the neighborhood, is asking, what is my motivation for creating a YouTube channel? And Mark, this takes me back to my childhood, because, you know, when I was a kid, I used to play around with cassette recorders and make tapes of myself as if I were a talk show host or a news presenter or a comedian, and it's just something I used to enjoy doing. And in some respects, what I'm doing now with the YouTube channel is not that far removed from that. You know, I get to be a kind of presenter and sometimes a comedian, I suppose, sometimes even a makeshift musician, you know. So my motivation really for doing it is to have fun as a kind of pastime, and I really must say that I enjoy the connections that I've been making with you, Mark, and others. I really like that, and I enjoy reading the comments and responding to them and engaging with my viewers. So that's just a benefit that I thoroughly enjoy about this process. And something else that I think about is that, making these recordings is kind of like a time capsule, I suppose, for me, because I can imagine in some years looking back at what I've done and to just maybe see if I still have the same perceptions and conceptions about this country that I call home. So those are some of the motivations for me doing it. And well, I hope you enjoy the fact that I am doing it. This next question comes from Susura Tarantula. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but I really like that name. It's exotic and evocative. And Susura is asking if I think it's hard for a foreigner with a university degree to find a related job in the Netherlands. And Susura, I would say it depends on the university degree, of course, and something that I have found in my experience is that you do have to be agile and open-minded and flexible. You probably can't be too fixed on finding work that is related to what you do necessarily. It is possible, again, depending on your background and what your studies are. Without knowing that, I can't answer specifically. But in general, I would say some flexibility is helpful because, for me, for example, my background is in English literature with a minor in psychology, and the likelihood of me finding work in those particular fields in the Netherlands is slim. I don't say that that's not possible, but the first job that I had here was in international banking. I was responsible for opening bank accounts for such international clients as BMW and Unilever, and that was really far afield from my studies and from my experience. But, I needed a job, and that was the job that was made available to me. So I threw my hat in the ring and went for it, and that's what I did. So that's my answer to you, Susura. This next question comes from Diane of Diane's Garden Inspiration. She's based in California and has an amazing YouTube channel all about gardening. And Diane is asking me, what is your favorite hobby? And I would say, Diane, that my favorite hobby these days, or hobbies these days, are the YouTube channel itself, making these videos, and that whole engagement with my audience and my newfound friends, and also the ukulele, because that's something I picked up about a year ago on a whim. I just had an interest in playing a stringed instrument after having had lessons on keyboard as a kid. I was curious about playing a stringed instrument, and so again on a whim I just bought a ukulele and looked at some YouTube videos on how to form some chords, and before you know it I could play a few songs, and that was so exhilarating and satisfying. So those are my two hobbies. I've always enjoyed making music. I remember back when I was playing the piano, I used to sometimes go into a room, a pitch black room, and do a kind of stream of conscious channeling music. I used to call it psychic piano. I don't know why, but I just enjoyed that. And like I said, I like making up songs just to express my feelings in any particular moment. So that's what I'm doing these days in terms of hobbies. Thanks for the question, Diane. And last but not least is Yoldensky Gaming. And Yoldensky Gaming asked simply, how about some Hank? So, hey, you have you to blame, Yoldensky. You asked for it, you got it. So once again, I turn it over to Ukulele Mike to take us out with a little bit of Hank.
Hear that lonesome whippoorwill, it sounds too blue to fly. The midnight train is winding low, I'm so lonesome I could cry. Have you time goes crawling by. The moon just hid behind a cloud to hide its face and cry. Have you ever heard the robin weep when leaves begin to die? It means he's lost the will to live. I'm so lonesome I could cry. I'm so lonesome I could cry.
Hey guys, thanks again for watching this video and watching so many of my other videos and all your comments. Please do keep them coming, and I look forward to speaking with you guys again soon. Take care.